So this is also a little bit about the media. As a person who works in cable news, I have to tell you this is a little bit awkward to acknowledge, but it is true, and sometimes it ends up being important. That sometimes cable news really does go a bit wobbly. We lose our way a little bit. We fail at what we are supposed to do, which in the broadest possible terms is and that we're supposed to provide useful and accurate information about the news to the American people, right? It's not a complicated mission, but sometimes things do go wobbly in our business. And right now, the wobbliest bit is this guy, the undisputed king of cable news, who nevertheless is having a hard time getting ahead of multiple stories now, multiple instances over multiple years, when he has described news stories and described his role in news stories in ways that are not, how do you say, true, not true. It started with reporting from Mother Jones's David Korn, who documented how Bill O'Reilly at the Fox News Channel has described himself repeatedly as having been a reporter in the Falklands War, having reported from a war zone, having reported from a combat situation in that war, when in fact he was more than 1,000 miles away from the actual fighting in the Falklands War. In true fact, the hairiest thing Bill O'Reilly ever covered during the Falklands War was a protest about the war, not the war itself.
Because I was in a situation one time in a war zone in Argentina in the Falklands.
No, he wasn't. He was never in a war zone in Argentina in the Falklands. It just never happened. But the Fox News Channel has still not corrected that or commented on those claims at all, except to express the Fox News Channel's unqualified support for Mr. O'Reilly as their star anchor. Now, Fox News has so far issued 2 corrections or clarifications for a couple of other stories where Mr. O'Reilly has been caught out. In a book that he published 2 years ago, he wrote this: "I've seen Irish terrorists kill and maim their fellow citizens in Belfast." Fox News did later issue a correction about that to the Washington Post, explaining that actually Mr. O'Reilly was not an eyewitness to any bombings or injuries in Northern Ireland. What they say he meant when he said he saw those things is that actually he once saw pictures of those things. Oh, okay. Mr. O'Reilly has also said on the Fox News Channel, he has said, "I was in El Salvador and I saw nuns get shot in the back of the head." He did not see nuns get shot in the back of the head in El Salvador. Mr. O'Reilly and Fox News later put out a statement explaining that he didn't, in fact, see nuns get shot. Actually, once again, what he saw was pictures of that. So what Fox News Channel and Mr. O'Reilly have not touched on at all so far, and this is becoming sort of a more and more pregnant pause as we wait for some comment from them on this. What they haven't touched at all thus far is one for which there really appears to be no plausible, innocent explanation for what Mr. O'Reilly said.
Now, I reported on this guy when I was working at WFAA-TV in Dallas, this DeMorenshield, because he taught at Bishop College in Dallas. I can't put that together. Now, I chased DeMorenshield to Florida, and I was about to knock on the door where he was, his daughter's house, and he blew his brains out with a shotgun.
Really?
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my goodness. Really? No, not really. Although Mr. O'Reilly has told this story in that way many times, including on the Fox News Channel and in print, it appears not to have happened. He keeps saying it, though. This is from his book, Killing Kennedy. Behold.
In March of 1977, a young television reporter at WFAA in Dallas began looking into the Kennedy assassination. As part of his reporting, he sought an interview with the shadowy Russian college professor who had befriended the Oswalds upon their arrival in Dallas in 1962. The reporter traced George DeMorenshield to Palm Beach, Florida, and traveled there to confront him. As the Dallas reporter knocked on the door of DeMorenshield's daughter's home, he heard the shotgun blast that marked the suicide of the Russian, assuring that his relationship with Lee Harvey Oswald would never be fully understood. That reporter's name is Bill O'Reilly.
Okay, that part is true. That reporter's name is Bill O'Reilly. If by what you mean is that reporter is the guy speaking there. But the rest of it, where this Dallas reporter has gone to Florida to find this guy, and he knocks on the door of the guy's house in Florida, and while he is knocking on the door, he hears the gunshot that indicates the man inside that house has just killed himself. That apparently did not happen. The CNN has now published this recording of Mr. O'Reilly calling a source in Florida the day that man killed himself in Florida. Mr. O'Reilly was working as a reporter in Texas at the time. In this call, you'll hear him. He expresses shock that this guy has killed himself. He says he's going to go to Florida the next day to start looking into it, now that he's heard from another state that the guy is dead.
Hi, Gaten, Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Look, something definitely did happen.
Yeah, I got it.
What is it?
He committed suicide up here in where I was trying to locate him.
Okay. So he committed suicide. He's dead.
Yeah.
Okay. What time?
Late this afternoon. I don't know.
Okay. Gun?
I think he said he shot himself.
Okay. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Isn't that something? Jesus.
Now we got to get this guy Epstein. I'm coming down there tomorrow. I'm coming to Florida. We got to get this guy. He knows what happened.
Well, I'm going to be up there probably trying to secure the papers.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to get in there tomorrow. I'm going to get a car.
He's going to get a car tomorrow. I'm coming down there tomorrow. I'm coming to Florida. He's going to go to Florida the next day after the guy killed himself because he's intrigued by this news. Mr. O'Reilly does not seem to have been standing on the porch listening to the gunshot ring out as the guy killed himself. I mean, not unless the guy's porch was long enough to extend from that house in Florida all the way into Texas, where Bill O'Reilly was working as a Dallas reporter. It just does not seem to have happened the way he has repeatedly explained that it did. Now, Mr. O'Reilly, the star anchor of the Fox News Channel, the king of cable news, he has made this claim on the Fox News Channel about being there in person when this guy killed himself in Florida, hearing the shot as he stood at the front door. That claim does not appear to be true. It is contested not only by Mr. O'Reilly's own words on this tape, but by Mr. O'Reilly's coworkers at the time who say he was in Texas when this Florida suicide happened. But so far, the Fox News Channel has not corrected that or made any comment on it whatsoever. We contacted the Fox News Channel again today to ask if they would give us any comment on the substance of these allegations. In what was a very unexpected and also sort of, I have to say, amusing development, they didn't. We asked them for comment on the substance of the allegations. What they sent us was a lot of information about how great Bill O'Reilly's ratings are. And yes, Sloansha, your ratings are great. I've seen your ratings shoot my ratings right in the head. Well, I've seen pictures of that, I should say. But the Fox News Channel now has a problem, right? They have a problem, even on a business level, right? On a media level, with the face of their network, their flagship anchor, having all of this stuff trailing him around with no plausible explanation for what exactly he said and did and why they haven't tried at least to fix it. The network has also not apologized or retracted any of Mr. O'Reilly's overt threats to other reporters who have just covered this story about the real credibility that they have got with him right now. So, cable news, as an institution, sometimes does get into a pickle like this. And it tends to get the most attention when it is a personnel issue, like it is right now with Mr. O'Reilly, who, again, indisputably, has very good ratings and is the king of cable news.